isn't it? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's real easy, and it looks like we are live. Social comments display here.
Sweet. What's the Twitch handle so I can push a host?
Gold Block. That's BLOC artists.
Gold Block Artists.
Yes.
Nice. Sweet. You should have some like stuff playing in the background underneath the chat.
I wish I could figure that out. I'm still new to this.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it in Restream, but I know how to do it in Streamlabs because Streamlabs comes with all of those fancy plugins. And so I use Pretzel on Streamlabs sometimes. That's royalty-free music that I can play underneath. And Monster Cat has a plugin on Streamlabs as well.
Interesting. I should look into that. The last time I tried to play music on this, I had to like switch off my sound card and then log back in. So I'm not sure why that didn't work.
Oh.
Let's see. Here we go.
Gold Block Artists?
Gold Block Artists. Oh, there we are. Now we're live.
Doing nothing. Just a little casual midday stream.
Right?
That's interesting that you do it during the day, actually.
It's when we have time available.
That's fair.
Actually, not even in my apartment right now because my mom lives downstairs. I'm in her apartment. You'll notice my background is much different than what I use when I like actually stream DJ sets.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. It's because
that's nice that you have that option.
Yeah, London's upstairs screaming his head off, so I can't really stream up there.
London!
He's got to have time to watch DuckTales or something.
Very important.
It's very, very important. So I think we're live. Last week I had like, people coming filtering right now, but whatever. I'm not going to worry about that yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to push the host on my Twitch as well. And it says, I think it says that it's working, but it's showing up on mobile, but not on desktop. And streaming is basically a wasteland that I can't manage.
Yeah, I feel it. That's how I feel about it too. I don't.
So what is this? Like, what is Restream, this thing that we are using?
Restream is a platform that will restream to several different platforms at once. So like right now it's playing on Twitch, it's playing on YouTube, and it's playing on Facebook. And it also, they just recently like opened up this whole studio thing where you can like do all kinds of things within the app instead of just like, before it was just restreaming and you could use OBS through it to like restream, and it was just restreaming. Now they have like a whole studio where you can bring extra people in. The reason Goldblock uses it is when we do our own streams and we transfer between artists, you can do this whole thing where people are side by side, so you can stay on the channel and not have to raid out between people and wait till somebody's finished for somebody else to start.
Got it.
Yeah.
I wish Twitch itself built out tools to make these sort of collaborative streams easier, so we wouldn't have to be dependent on a Restream or StreamYard or any of these other third-party companies. It just feels like a very easy thing you should be able to do from within Twitch, right?
It does, and they have Twitch Studio now, and I tried to use
What's
it over
that?
the weekend. It's terrible is what it is.
Oh boy.
It was awful. Yeah, they have like a really rudimentary desktop streaming app that allows you to like link up your camera, link up your mic, and do all the things, and it has like, you can monitor your chat from inside, and from what I can understand, it has like, all the access to all of your stuff on your channel, and you can add stuff. But it never recognized my webcam. It never recognized my microphone. It was quite terrible, and they readily admit that it's in beta and that it's only for new streamers. So I don't know what that means.
Oh, interesting.
They're admitting that it sucks, and that people who know what they're doing shouldn't use it.
Thanks.
Yes.
What's up, DJ Jambot? Happy Thursday to you as well.
So, it's good to have you. This is House Philosophy. I'm Alex Amaro. You're obviously Dani Deahl, and your raver resume precedes you. I don't have to
I
like
probably
tell.
should have put my full name in, shouldn't I?
No, no, no. Everyone knows who you are. You don't have to put any more
um,
than Dani. You're fine. You're fine.
I just go by my first name. If you can't figure it out, you don't need to follow me.
No, right?
I'm kidding.
Exactly.
Oh,
You're
that
so
made me sound like an asshole.
so
Sorry.
spicy today. You're so spicy. I love it.
Clubhouse left me feeling spicy after that.
Clubhouse makes you feel that way when you have to monitor the interrupting of
Mhm.
of people, like constant interrupting of people. It's
Yes.
it's infuriating. It's infuriating when
hmm
one person won't shut the hell up,
hmm hmm Ain't that the truth?
right? And it's always this dude.
It's
One
all.
dude.
It's always that one dude.
He's like, but hold on,
Um,
let me interject here. What's up, Michael Milano?
I'm
So
sure
yeah,
all the dudes in the audience are quite lovely. Quite
they
lovely,
are.
gentlemen.
I can vouch for them. They're good people who don't interrupt.
Love it. What's up?
So how's it going, Michael? Michael, Michael, meet Dani. You guys talked like real quick. You should get her on. You should get her on the weekly Wednesday warm up. What's up, Jace One? So yeah, Dani, let's talk about how I met you. Um, this was like maybe 10 years ago, back when I was still playing breaks, and you were producing like electro house, and
We're
you were
old.
we're old. Yes, I just dated us in one comment, and I used to do all these like breakbeat remixes of electro house songs because I was vehemently against like doing anything else at the time as a producer. And I did one of your track with Sucho,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and you retweeted me, and it was like the first time anybody had mentioned me on Twitter like ever. And I thought
Oh wow.
it was
Really?
yeah, so it was super cool. So I looked for you on Facebook and friend requested you, and probably didn't talk to you again for like another year. And then you put a call out looking for writers for DaniDeahl.com.
Amazing.
And I hit you up and you said, "Well, your writing's okay, but it's good enough. You could do better, but I think you're good enough." And you brought me on to your staff of like super amazing writers, and that's what started our long friendship.
Did I
Um,
really give you hard feedback?
it wasn't harsh, but it was constructively harsh,
It's
like in the
nice to
nice.
know that I'm consistent at least.
Oh no, no, it's no different than it's no different than the feedback you give me now, and I'm okay with that. Like I got a thick skin, it's all good. But like I kind of want to talk to that. Like your career has been like all about putting people on, and like
Mhm.
as long as I've known you, you've always put people on. You had like an amazing staff of writers at DaniDeahl.com. And I know you've like over the years, you've hooked people up with tons and tons of things, be it work or like opportunities. Why is that so important to you?
Because I believe that music is an ecosystem and we're only as strong as our weakest link. And I think a lot of folks figured that out over the past year when the things that they normally relied on suddenly fell through the cracks and they were in a position of need. And it became very obvious which relationships were actually fungible and which ones existed beyond the boundaries of green room at 3 a.m. hanging out with the homies, and which people you could call on in your time of need, which people would give you opportunities. I think in order to really be quote unquote successful in music, you have to pay in order to take out. Otherwise, the carpet can be pulled out from under you at any time, and then you have no means of recovery.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, you've definitely proven like the success of that statement because your resume is long, but your Rolodex is long too. But you've made some real genuine connections in the music industry, and that's commendable. It sounds like valuing community is like the centerpiece of dance music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I go ahead.
No, I just think community also has become a hot topic word over the past year as we shift to
Yeah.
these platforms that value community. And I like to put a pin in that word and make sure that people really understand fundamentally what that word means, because there's a difference between community and networking. Community is truly the smaller pocket of people that surround you, that know what you're doing week to week, that you can casually call. You know their first name. You maybe know their pet's name, what's going on in their life. And this extends not just to my business relationships, but to the people who tune in and see me on Twitch every week. That's my community. You're my community. And people that show up in my chat every week, like, Jackie and Francis and Joey Headset, for example, they're also my community.
Right. So, on that, what's the difference between community and networking for you? Like, what's your network look like?
It's the difference between friends and acquaintances.
Right.
We'll put it that way.
Okay, that makes sense.
How do I chat in here? Sorry, I'm like,
if you click
trying to feel interactive.
So go to the right side, and there's like, and click on the chat button.
Why don't I just do it from my Twitch though? I could do that.
You could do that
instead.
There you go.
I saw someone said DJ Tech Tools is in the house, and I got really excited.
That's DJ Jace One is one of the guys at DJ Tech Tools. He like runs
the no
store. Yeah, and actually he's one of the NAM hopefuls, the people that comes to NAM every year. So you might have run into him at some point.
It's entirely possible. Maybe at the Splice after party, or the BPM Supreme after party. Oh, you met me at NAM with Dan White, so that was probably backstage at Native Instruments. What's up?
Yes,
we are getting nerdy.
DJ Jace One is the homie and the ultimate studio nerd. If he's like you, if I have a question about studio shit, I go to him or I go to you. Like,
nice.
That's how it is. And let's talk about that. Like, music and technology. You are always like ahead of the curve. Do you call yourself an early adopter?
An early adopter. That's a really nice way of saying I'm a dork. I'm going to use that from now on. I'm lifting it from you. Thanks.
All right, cool.
I'm an early adopter.
You're an adopter. So it's a nice way of saying a nerd, a lifelong nerd.
Yes, indeed.
Do you think that's something that serves you well in your career?
Inadvertently.
Yeah.
I often say that I feel like my path has been chosen for me. And the longer I continue down this road, the more I see how things start to naturally meld together in ways that I could not have perceived to be possible 10, 15 years ago, but I see the beginnings of those things happening 10 or 15 years ago. I was always interested in music, tech. I think by the very nature of being interested in dance music, I was then interested in technology. Right. It's really hard to divorce the two, especially when you are interested in things like house and techno specifically, or electro, things that require you to actually care a lot about different waveforms. Right. But it is interesting as time has gone by, because a lot of folks in our age range, I'm not giving away what that age range is. You all can guess, but the people that are in our age range, there are a lot of folks that are slower to adopt to different platforms, or are naysayers with the way things are shifting in terms of maybe diversifying your income by creating splice packs, for example, right? Or coming onto platforms like Twitch, trying to figure out all of these different avenues of music creation, which are some people deem as shortcuts, things like the Captain Suite of plugins, which are amazing. Or even, at Output where I work, tools like Arcade, which some people are like, it's got loops in it and you can immediately make sounds, and that feels like taking a shortcut. But for a lot of other people, that's pretty freaking amazing, because we didn't have those tools 10, 15 years ago. I was making tracks on an MPC with a floppy disk that could only hold 2 or 3 samples at a time. So incredibly difficult.
Right.
It's amazing that we have this stuff now at our fingertips.
I find it really odd that there's this stigma around taking shortcuts as a I mean, I find it more in dance music than I see it anywhere else, but there's this stigma that like if you don't create all of your own drums and you don't create all of this stuff yourself, you're somehow falling short, or you're taking an advantage away from somebody else, or you're doing something to your fans that's inauthentic. And it's like, hey, this whole thing was created off of samples to begin with. The whole thing was taking shortcuts, and people worked with rudimentary tools for so long. Like you said, I would have killed to have some of the stuff we have now 10 or 15 years ago. I was ripping sample packs off of Mixmag and,
yes,
and digging through CDs to hope that I found something that I could use. I had no clue what I was doing, and now everybody can figure it out in a moment. I mean,
can I say though, I have a caveat to all of this.
Go for it.
It's the same reason where if you're trying to solve a math problem and you have a calculator, the calculator will give you the answer. But if you don't understand how the calculator arrived at that answer, if you don't know to check the work, then you leave yourself at the mercy of the technology in ways that you might not be able to anticipate that could be really important. And while the new tools democratize music making, I do see a gap of knowledge with some people that are starting to make music. And I don't believe that because tools allow you to get to the end faster means that we should divorce traditional learning about making music in the process. Because once you understand things like theory, why certain sounds work together, the difference between a triangle and a square wave, things like that, then you're able to take the tools that give you the shortcuts and manipulate them in ways to actually arrive at the thing in your head. You can adjust the sounds in very specific ways because you understand how to get from the start to the desired end result.
Well, that's an interesting point. You're talking about like figuring out how to do all that stuff, but education is key in that. And that's something that you've also been super steadfast about too, is like you've been somebody over the years that has always educated people on this. And why is it important for you to bring people around on those things? Like, how is it that you do such a good job of breaking down such complicated topics into such an easy to digest way? Like,
I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about blockchain. Let's go to Audius for a second. We both have feelings about the platform, but let's just talk about what they're doing. You broke down blockchain in that article in such a way that was so easy to digest, and most people out there have no fucking clue what any of that is. How do you do that?
As a little bit of a sidestep, I will say one of my personal crowning achievements is the metadata feature that I wrote the other year.
Yes.
Which was titled, what was it called? Like, metadata is the biggest little problem plaguing the music industry, I believe. But that feature took something that was incredibly nebulous, incredibly fucking boring. Like, I'm not even gonna try and paint it any other way. Metadata on its surface is boring, but that feature made metadata as a problem accessible to everyone, not just within the music industry, but people outside of music, which was for me something. Oh, thank you for dropping the link in chat. So that felt like a really big achievement for me, and that article was actually used last year in a congressional. Was it a congressional hearing or a Senate subjudiciary hearing? One of the two. Anyway, it entered into the federal records because it was used in the ongoing hearings about DMCA. But yeah, also same with blockchain, same with whatever. But basically, I do attribute a lot of that to The Verge. Part of the whole ethos of working for The Verge and Vox in general is learning how to communicate about very complicated things in a way that anyone can understand, to make it approachable. I find that a lot of sites that write about music technology are writing to an audience that already has an assumed level of knowledge. And if you're writing specifically for an audience that already knows what you're talking about, how do you expect to bring in new people? And especially when it comes to this ever-expanding world of music and technology, the audience that we could potentially speak to is ever increasing. And there are folks that might never be involved in music making that still might want to learn about why music metadata is a huge problem. Why is blockchain a bad solution for releasing music? These are questions that could be very interesting for someone to read about. But if we box them out with language, then we're doing no one a service. It's just learning how to communicate.
Right.
Like, how could I talk to you about a Moog synth without using any official music terminology?
It sounds difficult, but you make it look easy.
Well, like one time I literally described, I'm sorry, I'm going to look up this SSL2 plus Verge. I got a lot of compliments on this one article I wrote about the SSL, the little audio interface that they came out with, the 2 in, 2 out.
Right, yeah, the one that I'm
Are you
using
really?
right now. It's sitting right next to me.
Amazing. Have you used the button, the 4K red button?
That's what I use it for streaming. So like I have a 2 laptop setup. One of my laptops feeds into this, and I use the 4K setting all the time.
That's amazing. The 4K basically just gives it a little extra jazz on the high end.
Yeah, a little boost.
Yeah. But when I was writing about that piece of equipment, I was talking about how they sourced the finest of the finest for all of the pieces. And that included Alps for the pots. And that sentence is very like a what for the what if you're not in music. And so I capped that with, in parentheses, pot is short for potentiometer. I hate that word. Which is also known as the thingy that sits behind the panel and is capped by a knob. And I got so many comments, like people from all these tech companies texted me and they were like, that was amazing that you described it as the thingy that sits under a knob, because we all know what that is.
Well, I mean, that's just the way people talk though.
It is.
In like regular life. And I feel like a lot of times in technology, people start talking in jargon, and you're right. It counts people out. If you could just talk to people the way that they talk. And that's what I love about Outlet. Full disclosure, I also write for Outlet. Output, sorry. And one of the things that is really interesting is that you express that we're writing for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important, even when you're looking at an outlet that is solely focused on the music industry and that's focused on musicians. Writing for everybody is still important, because you have to think about what level is somebody coming into this at, and exactly what do they understand. You have to understand that we know more than some other people, and you have to make it accessible to everybody.
There are two tiers of information I think that a lot of folks aren't thinking about. I believe a lot of outlets are finally starting to make the delineation between a professional or an expert level and a beginner level. But most places still neglect to recognize that there is a level before beginner. There's the people that are interested in making music and they don't know where to start.
Right.
They've never fooled around with software. Like, what the fuck is a plugin? Like that level of people, how do we talk to them?
Absolutely.
Anyway, so you also get bonus cat in the background.
Where's Crouton? Oh, there she is.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Crouton.
She's really happy because we have a new furnace.
Is she like right in front of it?
Well, she's been staying up here because the furnace is on this floor. It's right next to me over on the other side of the room. Normally she sleeps downstairs, but she's up here.
I don't understand how you deal with that ridiculous cold in Chicago. I really don't get it. It's insane.
Yeah. Tell me about it. For the people that are in chat, my furnace broke over the weekend last week, and we got like 3 feet of snow. The snow is so deep. Did you see that? You saw that tweet I put on Twitter where I was like, I thought the snow was bad a few days ago, but then I woke up. So a few days ago, there was a car on my street that was mostly covered by snow, but you could see a couple of the edges. You could tell there was a red car under there somewhere. And then we had another snowstorm, and I woke up and you could not see the car at all. I haven't seen that in a really long time. And in the middle of all that, our furnace broke. There was a blackout. It wasn't an easy fix. And we had 2 days with no heat, sleeping in the living room in our winter jackets with hot water bottles.
Oh, that sounds so awful. I live in California where the weather like almost never changes. In Oakland, it's 67 degrees like every day.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what time of year it is. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know I have no idea what seasons are.
I'm not even going to comment on that. That's right. In Thread, when you saw, I told birthday party that he should get a snowblower. Is that the same leaf blower? And I couldn't tell if you were trolling me or not, but I could feel my blood starting to boil.
I was trolling you just a little bit.
Okay, I heard as much.
I know the difference. I mean, I couldn't pick both of them out of a lineup and tell you which one was which, but I know there's a difference.
Okay.
So,
oh my gosh.
I'm not going to ask you that standard, like, what got you into music thing, or like, because anybody can look you up in any interview and find that. But I do want to bring up the fact that when you were 6, you asked for a Hall & Oates record as a birthday present. And I gotta ask, like, at 6 years old, how did you have that good of taste in music to ask for such an awesome record as a birthday present? And why weren't you asking for something else?
I don't know, because Maneater is a jam. I was really into that song. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in a really granola-ish household. My parents were very future thinking with how they were bringing up my brother and I wasn't allowed to have quote unquote girl toys. Likewise, my brother was not allowed to have quote unquote boy toys. I was allowed to have a Barbie, but she had to have a career. So I got after Barbie.
Wait, did you give the Barbie a career, or was that
no?
She came with?
She had to come with the career. That was the caveat to getting a Barbie. So that meant, like, for the most part, I was doing Legos, Tinker Toys, Lincoln Logs. I was just interested in like building things, and then there was music on all the time in my household. Not mean to say I come from music only, quite the opposite. Right. Sing a single note to say neither can my dad. I think they just like to play what was on the radio all the time. I don't think they have any nuanced musical tastes also. This sounds like I'm really putting them down, and I'm just saying my dad now is the type of older dude that likes to listen to Kygo a lot. We'll just say that. But so I'm betting that Hall & Oates was on the radio a lot during that time. Became really Maneater and wanted the entire album. I also asked for UB40 as well. Around that
I'm not
going to
hate on you for that. UB40 slaps too. So you said your parents aren't musical, but they were in the entertainment industry, right?
Sort of. Not really. They owned a production company, and they did what's called tabletop film and photography. So the advertisements that you see on TV or on YouTube, whatever, that involve a product, the beauty shots that you see where the sandwich is on a table with all the ingredients beautifully arranged in the background, it pulls out slowly, or you see the liquid chocolate drizzled and pour down over a piece of fruit on camera. That's tabletop. And my parents specialized in food. This is all getting very micro, but that meant they were shooting Subway sandwiches, Kraft cream cheese, Asahi beer, and my dad was the director, and my mom was the executive producer. And that was the world that we grew up in, was advertising.
That's still art, though. Like,
it is.
It's still an art. Like, how do you think that, if at all, played into what you do now? Or like, put you on a path to become an artist yourself?
Yes. Well, okay. So I want to address DJ Jace One says Kygo and Whitney Higher Love is fire though. Yes, but let's be. It's kind of like a cover, right? It's a cover. It's not. It's barely a remix. I would call that more of a cover. It would not be fire were it not for that original song. Were it not for Whitney. Not to take away from Kygo, but I'm just going to make a differentiator there. And yes, Red Red Wine is a great song. So, but yeah, when it comes to my parents and their involvement or their positioning with our interests, I think one, the fact that they pushed us toward toys that made us create things made a big difference.
Yeah.
So instead of giving me a Lego kit where I was supposed to build the one thing at the end, it was, here's the Lego kit with 500 of the basic blocks and build whatever you want out of them. Those were the sort of things that we were encouraged to do. And they also let us indulge our interests. So anything that we wanted to do, they would say, how can we help you do that thing? What do you need to do that thing? There was a moment in college where I was interested in fashion design, and they bought me a dummy for Christmas so that I could practice with muslin. They always really paid attention to what I was interested in and gave the tools to explore that. And my parents did buy me my first copy of Logic way back in the day, back when it was owned by the German company.
So they did have played like a pretty significant role in what you're doing.
They were enablers in the best way possible. This is a good way to be an enabler.
There it is. That's how it should be stated. A good way to be an enabler. So this is something I try to practice with my son. He loves video games, and as much as I don't want him to be on video games all the time or to be on YouTube all the time, I do see the inherent good in him, like finding something that he's really interested in and being like, all right, that's what you like doing, then go for it. You're really good at it. He also likes to sing. So I encourage that. My parents grew up with me that way. I was in a boys choir from 7 years old because I wanted to be, not because my parents forced it on me.
Right.
And so was my brother, and both of us continued on in music for our entire lives. And my parents didn't have the money all the time to make these things happen, but they somehow made it work so they could keep encouraging us to do the things that they wanted to do because they did not grow up that way. So, a bit of advice for anybody who's on the path to being a parent, no matter how weird the stuff is that your kids want to do, as long as they're not killing anybody or smoking crack, you should probably encourage it.
It's a good line to parent by.
Yes. At least he's not smoking crack.
Were you in my stream last night where I was talking to Jubilee?
I missed it. I had lots of family time last night.
We were talking about our parents last night, and she has similar parents as well. Her parents were like, well, you're going to go out and you're going to party and you're going to do all this stuff. So let's just teach you how to be responsible and how to not lie to us so that you understand that you can go do these things. But if you need help, then you can always come to us. I thought that was really interesting.
That's how my mom was too. Actually, by the time I started going to parties, my parents had split up, and I was living with my mom. And I don't know why I thought this was okay to bring people back to her apartment, like after parties. But I was like, oh, we could just go back to my house. It's all good. And there were so many nights when my mom wakes up, and in the living room, there's 15 ravers in various states of unrest on the floor. And she just steps over them, and she's like, hi, everybody. How you doing? I'm on my way to work. Hope everybody had a good time.
What?
And she was totally okay with this. There's actually one time where I brought people back to the house, and she was so curious about dance music, but she thought it all sounded the same. So we did a dance performance for her and played every different type of dance music we had CDs for, and people danced in the living room in front of her so she could see how people danced at parties. And she just thought it was the greatest thing. I can't appreciate my mom enough for encouraging, bad behavior.
But that's not encouraging bad behavior. I think a lot of these creative behaviors, at least in America, certainly are viewed as lesser than in terms of skill sets that should be nurtured and developed, right? We place emphasis on traditional collegiate matters, which I don't even know why the fuck I need to learn about mathematical logic or, right? Learn. I mean, it's silly. But the first thing that always gets stripped away historically, especially in America, is art, from our lives as adults, from our children's lives, from school systems. It's undervalued, underappreciated, and I think a lot of parents still don't understand the variety of ways that kids can explore art, and it will help them not only in non-art careers, but there are a plethora of ways that you can make money within creative arts that might not be superficially apparent.
Oh, absolutely. That's, when I was in the boys choir, one of the things that the choir director always talked about was how important music is, like fundamentally, to like helping you learn math or helping you understand everything, because in music you're using both your right brain and your left brain at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of studies about how people who learn music early on in life, or they pick up a second language faster, or they they pick up mathematical concepts faster, but it's because they've learned how to engage both sides. And there's a lot of that stuff in like reading music or understanding music theory. There's so much of all of these other disciplines like pulling in. Learning music is learning another language.
Oh, I'm so glad that my intuition is actually backed by science.
Yes,
that's great.
Yes, it is. Science.
Also, I love that Jay's one said sports ball. Is there a reason why that was brought up? I don't know. I just thought that was funny because I am not into sports at all, and so I always say go sports ball whenever there's a big sporting event.
I do it too. I have no desire to learn anything about sports. I know about it tangentially because I hear it in my ear when someone's talking about it. I'm like, yeah, I know that's a team, and I know that they play a sport, but that's about as far as it goes. I don't care about sports ball.
It's so strange, like all of the complicated things that my brain can comprehend and distill, and then when it comes to the rules of football, it's like I have no room for this. Like you can explain football to me every single year, and I'm still like, I can play squares, and that's about it.
Right? Yeah, actually, last year when we were watching the Super Bowl, my son asked me a question about it. I was like, yeah, I don't really know. You might want to just go ahead and look that up on the internet, because I'm just watching the guys go back and forth here.
Yeah, literally. I'm just here for the halftime show. That's it.
Oh, halftime show and the snacks.
Yes, the snacks.
The snacks. I want to talk about the Recording Academy for a second. It's a total switch, but I want to ask how you got involved with them. And I kind of want you to talk about how easy it is, or how easy you've made it seem for artists to get involved with the Recording Academy.
It's not easy,
okay.
But so they scouted me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Maurice Callis, who is our head of membership, is an amazing human being and is incredibly cognizant of the need for diversity, not only represented in our chapter governance, but in the people who are voting members as well. And it's interesting. He comes from a metal rock background, but somehow he knows about all of these different pockets of music that are on the other end of the spectrum for the things that he's interested. I mean, I guess that's why he's membership director, right? So he knows about all of the things, and he was the one that reached out to me because there wasn't any dance represented in the board, and it felt like a very obvious swing and miss, especially for the Chicago chapter.
Right.
So at first he brought me on board to get me reinstated as a voting member. I was previously a voting member. I let it lapse because I didn't really care at the time or see the value. And he got me reinstated. I was a voting member for a tiny bit, and then he approached me to run as a governor for my board. ran for that, won. Then they encouraged me to run for vice president, ran for that, won. And I believe I'll be running for president for my chapter this year. And then, yeah, in terms of how easy or hard it is, basically you need to have a minimum of, I believe it's 12 credits in the same category. And those credits have to be released within a certain time frame too. So it's not like you can have 1 credit from 10 years ago and then 11 within the past few years and squish it together and have it all count. You need to show that you have a consistent release history, that it is your primary job, that you're not a dent a band on the side, and all those credits need to be within the same field. So 12 credits in producing, 12 credits in songwriting, et cetera, et cetera. If you meet those qualifications, and it's just listed, if you Google like qualifications, Grammy membership, it should pop right up. If you meet the qualifications, then you need to have 2 people recommend you. And actually our deadline is coming up. It's the end of this month for the class that will be brought in later this year. So two people separately need to vouch for you, and they need to write a mini essay basically on like how long they've known you and in what capacity and why you would be a very good person for the Recording Academy to consider as a member. And each of us gets 2 recommendations a year. It's not a lot, only 2.
That's not a lot. But
yeah, so I've used mine up. I used it this year. I used mine on Jordan from Beatport as a professional member, and then Gesture.
Very good. Those are 2 perfect people to be on the board. Jordan is like,
oh no, just for voting, for them to
voting
be
members,
voting.
Excuse me.
Jordan's
like an encyclopedia of dance music.
Yeah, she's the perfect candidate to be a professional member.
Absolutely. So,
and we should talk to you next year about becoming a voting.
I would be so honored to do that. That would be amazing. So talk about like what you've done for dance music since you started working with the Grammys. I know you said there was almost no representation for dance music when you started, and
yeah,
what's the work been like to make that change? Because I've noticed over the last few years that nominations for dance music have actually been a little bit more actual dance music focused, as opposed to I don't know what they were before, but they weren't necessarily like within the realm of dance music that actual EDM fans or EDM adjacent fans actually listen to.
I will say locally, I've gotten a lot of people registered for our chapter that were not previously interested. It's been very difficult to get a lot of dance music folks interested in the Academy to begin with. I think a lot of people don't see themselves there, or it feels, because we are so independent naturally, it's hard for us to think about belonging or contributing to such a large system, or to feel like our vote matters. And I've learned where to pick my battles. For example, I don't even bother with the two folks. I know that no matter what I say or do, they're just not going to care about the Academy. Like, hard stop, they don't care. But I know that I have a shot when it comes to house people or people that cross over with dance/pop, even some trap producers. So I've gotten folks like Golf Clap signed up as official members. Gene Ferris, actually both of them are slated to run for a governor position for the Chicago board this year as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So like literally, how do we create the world to see? How do we create the world that is reflective of the community that it's supposed to represent? And for me, that means putting the right people at the table and giving people a voice and a say.
That's and to that point, that's you're kind of coming full circle here and talking about community, because we started our talk off with about that. But that's something that you've done not just with the Grammys, but also with like being vocal about women's issues and being vocal about BIPOC issues, or being vocal about anything that actually matters.
Anything that actually matters.
Yeah, yes. And I think that's, it's something that's appreciated within the dance music community, because it's like inherently a political movement. It started off as one. But why is it so important that your voice be so loud? And that's not a bad thing. I'm saying that with like the utmost respect.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I used to care a lot more as well about what people thought of me when I was shouty or raised my voice. And I give zero, like, whatever below zero fucks is, that's where my level's at. Like, I do not care if I offend somebody who is fragile about the fact that they are not caught up with 2021. I'm so beyond that point. Um, to that end, it's easier for me to place importance on these ideals because I'm at a point where I'm comfortable being the loud person in the room or being frank with folks or correcting people when I feel like they have towed the line or stepped over the line or smashed it completely. You know, for example, when we were in that clubhouse room last night, and there was a white guy, a Caucasian gentleman, who kept interrupting me, not only me, but pretty much everyone else who was trying to get a word in edgewise. And I had to push back on him and say, look, you know, I know you want to talk, but you've got to let me finish or else I'm kicking you out of the room. Just hard stop. Got to set the boundaries.
And I got to say that kind of went on after you stopped moderating, and me and the other moderator and somebody else kept telling him the same thing, and went so far as to just interrupt him and be like, hey, we got somebody new in the room, why don't we let them talk right now?
We should have just kicked into the audience.
Yeah, we really should have. I muted him a couple of times. I probably should have just kicked him out to the audience.
Oh, wow, you did?
Yeah, no, I flat out muted him twice. Like,
yes.
mean, like I'm just like you. I'm also very
love to see it.
I'm loud too, and I give zero fucks too. And there's no problem with, you know, it's 2021. There's no reason why we don't need to allow other peoples to speak. And if you said your piece, it's time to listen. And you know, your voice is not more important than anybody else's. Everybody gets a chance to talk, especially on a platform like that where the whole thing is voice. We can't look at each other like, stop interrupting, dude. Just shut up.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, just.
I'm lucky enough too that I'm at a place where I have a platform. I'm with a company that supports me holistically. I know that they stand for the same ideals that I stand for. And so there's a lot less for me to risk by saying the right thing, which sounds awful, right? But people that are starting out their careers, that are younger, that don't have their footing in the world yet, it's much harder for them to assert themselves in situations where they're trying to gain power. Whereas I've already reached a point in the industry where I have, quote unquote, gained power. And so now I'm choosing to leverage it to where I can to carve space for the people that come after me.
What do you say to somebody that is at that point in their career where they're just starting out, but they still feel the need to speak up for these things if that's like their natural inclination?
I mean, they absolutely should. I think the problem is more with people that are unsure about whether they should speak out or just don't at all. And not to say that either of those are wrong also, because I understand what it's like to be in those positions. But I think it's less of a problem if you're young, you're starting out, and you already have the confidence to speak out against the industry. Like if you're comfortable, yeah, do it.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. So I know you have a hard stop at 2:00 because you're super, super busy.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Sorry, this sunshine. Get this.
It's so pretty.
We have not gotten sun in a while.
Is that the first time you've seen the sun in like days?
Yeah, and it was actually snowing again earlier today. So this is nice. The drapes open because it's finally sunshine today and not gray and overcast and storm. Although I still can't open the door because the snow is so high. And you can see.
What do you?
Do you see the? Hang on. Let me try and. Will that work? Nope, not really.
No,
cool.
Not really. It's all brightness. But I remember you sent me a picture of it. It's crazy. I don't understand how you can live like that. But I'm glad it's sunny.
I can't see the furniture on my roof. That's how deep the snow is. Oh my God. It's
So
insane.
So before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to plug while you're still on, or anything that you'd like to say before I let you go? Anything that I may have missed?
I mean, this was great. You threw a couple of curveballs at me. Well, why I'm having another blank. What's the name of that very famous journalist who surprises people with all the niche?
Nardwar.
Yes, yeah, you pulled a Nardwar on me.
So I've actually got compared to Nardwar once before by Astronomar. Um, I did
Interesting.
I did an interview with him for Insomniac, and I went back to an interview that he had done like 15 years prior, where he said that he didn't see himself as being a career musician. And I asked him about it in the interview, and he was like, "What the fuck, dude? That's that's awesome." I was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question, but dude, how did you find that?" I was like, "Oh no, it's just searching the internet, man. It's
Yeah,
there.
the internet's amazing, isn't
It
it?
is."
It's crazy though. Like I've actually gone out of my way to I've checked every single platform with my entire footprint and history on the internet to make sure that everything is kosher. There was actually very little that I had to delete. I did hide some old porn and chicken photos. um, for the like 99% of my presence online was already unproblematic, which was nice to see.
Well, at least
Um,
unproblematic in our realm, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Like there were photos that I chose to leave up, like me, taking a swig out of a bottle of Jameson, like whatever. I'm fine
Yeah,
if
it's no
people
big
find
deal.
that. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's totally
seriously.
fine.
You
Yeah,
look really cool doing it.
that's right. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I was going to make a point and then it just trailed off. Today's been so busy for me. I had a recording academy meeting like right before this too. Um, Yeah, any last points? I don't know. Be kind to one another, listen, shut up once in a while. Um, if you keep watch yourself with how much you talk in a conversation.
Mm, there it is.
Mhm.
That's the one. Well, thanks for coming on. Um, I felt like I was just talking to you anyways because we do this often.
Like almost every day.
Almost every day, exactly. Like I was talking to Christine about this beforehand, and she was like, "How is it going to be?" And I was like, "I don't know. I talk to Danny all the time. It's not that big a deal."
Yeah. Can we appreciate we're both wearing tie-dye?
I noticed that like halfway through. This is one of Christine's. She
I
made this.
knew it was. I knew
Yes,
it was.
yes. So that's I love that sweatshirt. It's pretty dope.
Thank you. I got it from there's an app that I've been using to buy cheap clothes because I realized when I started streaming last year that 98% of my wardrobe was all black, and I was like, this is not going to be good for my on-camera presence. So I was like, how can I diversify my wardrobe but not spend a shit ton of money, right? And this is not clothing that I'm going to be wearing all of the time. And so I've been trying to find different apps. I tried Boohoo for a while, which is like fine, but they don't have stuff that's like super out there. And I eventually found this app called Romwe, Romwe, and they also have legit men's clothing as well, streetwear.
Ooh.
It is so unbelievably cheap. This was probably maybe $5, I would guess. Most of the stuff that I buy is between $5 and $7 on this app, and I'm pretty pleased with the quality of it. And it helps me physically feel more colorful and like I have more of a presence on screen, and there's something for people to look at.
I love that. You just ended off with not just a recommendation for somewhere to find new clothes, but also a helpful tip for all those streamers out there.
Yeah, well, because I noticed with like Sophie Tucker's stream, that was actually when I really was like, I gotta up my game because I noticed that so many people were responding to the outfits that they were both wearing on their streams every day. And there's actually a separate Instagram account that tracks all the stuff that they wear and links to where you can find it and like who the manufacturer is.
Are you
And
serious? I don't know that.
yeah, yeah. There's a whole Sophie Tucker fashion fandom. So that made me really reevaluate my all black aesthetic, and I was like, I've got to wear stuff that's more visually arresting.
Are you going to
So
keep wearing colorful stuff after pandemic's over?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's nice. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I do like it. I have this also in another tie-dye that's black and purple. It's really cool. I love
Ooh,
it.
I love those colors together.
But yeah, I don't think I'm going back to the all black clothing lifestyle. I don't think I can. I don't think I can close that lid.
Well, good.
Thank you for dropping the app name in chat. Everyone should go check out Romwe, and I don't say that with any investment into it. I just think it's dope.
So you're not sponsored by Romwe. You just think that you just like them a lot.
I do. I really do. I ordered from them. I get little stuff for my stream too. Like this was $1.
Oh, that's cute.
You can't really. You can sort of see it. It
Yes.
lights up, and the light changes color over time too. This was literally $1. So I get little toys for my stream from Romwe as well as the clothing. And yeah, high key recommend it. It's cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being on today. You're awesome. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you like, in the next like couple of hours.
Yeah, probably.
And anybody else who's still on, next week, we will have Kesmalia as our guest. I'm going to be back here again on Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. This is House Philosophy. I'm Alex Amaro. Y'all have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.